Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something really fascinating. Howard Gardner's Frames of Mind. That's his 1983 book on the theory of multiple intelligences.
Right. And our mission here really is to unpack this idea he had, which was pretty revolutionary at the time, that intelligence isn't just one single thing, like an IQ score.
No, it's more like a whole range of different abilities.
Exactly, a spectrum.
And understanding this, for you listening, it can genuinely change how you view your own skills, your own talents.
Yeah, it helps you recognize the different ways you're smart, maybe ways you hadn't even considered intelligence before, and how you learn best, too.
We'll be digging into Gardner's main points from Frames of Mind, sort of following the book's logic.
And just a note, if you want to go even deeper after this, there are resources like study guides available online that explore the book further.
Okay, so let's set the scene. For a long time, the dominant idea was, well, pretty simple.
Yeah, one-dimensional intelligence. You were smart or you weren't. And the IQ test was supposedly the ultimate measure.
That was the gold standard.
It really was. And it heavily weighted two things. Linguistic skills, words, basically, and logical mathematical skills, reasoning, numbers, problem solving.
But Gardner came along and, well, he sort of blew that up, didn't he?
He really did. He basically said, hang on, we're missing huge parts of the picture here.
That focusing just on language and logic ignores so many other vital human capabilities.
Totally. I mean, think about an amazing dancer or musician who just moves you, or a therapist who has incredible empathy.
Are they not intelligent?
Exactly. Gardner argued they absolutely are, just in different ways. And the key thing is, he didn't just, make a list of cool skills.
No, he was rigorous about it.
Very. He actually set up specific criteria to determine if something qualified as a distinct intelligence.
Okay, that's interesting. So it wasn't just subjective. What kind of criteria are we talking about?
Well, one really powerful one was the potential for isolation by brain damage. Meaning, if damage to a specific brain area could knock out one ability, say language, but leave others, like music, completely intact.
Ah, that suggests there's separate systems of the brain.
Precisely. Think of someone having a stroke, losing speech, but still being able to, paint brilliantly. It points to separate intelligences.
Wow, yeah. That's compelling. What else?
Another fascinating piece of evidence was the existence of savants and prodigies.
Right, people who are off the charts, brilliant in one very specific area.
But maybe quite limited in others.
Exactly. This unevenness, it strongly argues against intelligence being just one single general thing.
Like the classic image of the mathematical genius who struggles socially.
Kind of, yeah. That sort of profile supports the idea of distinct intelligences.
So these extremes, brain damage and exceptional talent, help define them.
They were key pieces of evidence. He also looked for an identifiable core set of operations, like the basic mental steps involved in that intelligence.
And a distinctive developmental history, how it typically shows up and grows as a person gets older.
And he backed this up with actual studies and data.
Right.
Right. It wasn't just theory.
Oh, absolutely. He drew on support from psychological experiments, controlled studies looking at these abilities, and also from psychometric findings, patterns that show up in PES data, even if traditional IQ tests didn't capture them well.
Right.
And one more thing, susceptibility to encoding in a symbol system.
Can you translate that?
Yeah. Basically, can the intelligence be expressed using symbols? Like language uses words, music uses notes, math uses numbers and equations.
Got it. So a way to capture and communicate it.
Exactly. That ability to work with a symbolic system was another marker.
So a really thorough, multi-layered approach.
Definitely. And based on all this, he initially identified 7, then added an 8th, and even considered a 9th.
Okay, let's walk through them. The first 2 are the ones traditional IQ tests liked.
Linguistic intelligence, yeah. That's your sensitivity to language, spoken and written. Think novelists, poets, great orators, people who just have a way with words.
The power to craft narratives, persuade, explain clearly.
Precisely. That's linguistic intelligence in action.
And the other classic one, logical mathematical.
Right. This is about reasoning, seeing patterns, thinking logically, solving problems, working with numbers and abstract concepts.
So scientists, mathematicians, engineers.
Exactly. People designing complex systems, developing proofs, analyzing data, that's their strength.
Okay, now we move into areas less measured by standard tests. Musical intelligence.
The ability to perceive, appreciate, create, and perform music. Composers, musicians, even just people with a really good ear for pitch and rhythm.
It feels like such a fundamental human thing, music.
It really does. And there's a lot of interesting brain science behind how we process melody and harmony, too.
Okay, what's next?
Bodily kinesthetic intelligence.
The body smarts.
Kind of, yeah. It's using your body skillfully, the whole body, or parts of it, like your hands, to express things, solve problems, make things.
Like athletes, dancers.
Athletes, dancers, surgeons with incredibly precise hand movements, craftspeople.
Surgeons. That's a great example. Such fine motor control.
Absolutely requires high bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Then there's spatial intelligence.
Thinking in 3D.
Essentially, yes. Understanding the visual world, manipulating shapes and spaces in your mind.
So architects visualizing buildings.
Architects, yes.
Yep.
Sailors navigating by the stars, sculptors working with form, even like chess players visualizing moves ahead.
Right. Understanding relationships in space.
Okay.
Then we get into the personal intelligences. First, interpersonal.
Understanding others.
Exactly. Reading people, understanding their feelings, their motivations, their intentions, being able to interact effectively.
Therapists, teachers, good salespeople maybe.
Definitely. Anyone who needs strong empathy and social skills. Effective leaders often have high interpersonal intelligence.
Makes sense. And the flip side is intrapersonal intelligence. That's self-knowledge.
Knowing yourself.
Deeply understanding your own feelings, your strengths, your weaknesses, what makes you tick. Having a realistic self-concept.
Philosophers, perhaps? Or just anyone who is quite self-aware.
Yes. People with a strong sense of who they are and what they want. It's about that internal compass.
Crucial stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the last of the main 8?
Naturalistic intelligence. This was added a bit later.
Okay.
It's about recognizing and categorizing things in the natural world. Plants, animals, rock formations, weather patterns.
So biologists, botanists, maybe chefs attuned to ingredients.
Or farmers understanding their land, ecologists seeing connections in an ecosystem. It's that ability to make distinctions in nature.
Fascinating.
Oh.
So that's 8 distinct ways of being smart. And you mentioned a possible 9th.
Yeah, Gardner later talked about potentially adding existential
The
intelligence.
big questions.
Pretty much. Thinking about fundamental questions of existence, life, death, meaning the universe.
Like philosophy and spirituality meet intelligence.
Sort of. He considered it, though he didn't formally add it to the main list like naturalistic, but it addresses that human capacity for deep contemplation.
Wow. Okay, this whole framework, it must have really shaken things up, especially in schools.
Oh, massively. It's had a huge influence on education. It really pushed the idea of personalized learning.
Moving beyond the one-size-fits-all model.
Exactly. Recognizing that kids have different strengths, different ways they learn best, tapping into their specific intelligences.
So less reliance on just lectures and standardized tests.
That was the hope, and it has led to changes. More project-based learning, using visual aids for spatial learners, group work for interpersonal skills, incorporating music or movement.
Trying to teach you the intelligences.
Right, moving away from just testing those traditional 2 and towards valuing and assessing a broader range of abilities.
And presumably this impact goes beyond just K-12 education.
For sure. It's influenced things like workforce development, helping people find careers that actually fit their strengths.
Like, if you're high in bodily kinesthetic, maybe don't aim for a desk job chained to a spreadsheet.
Maybe not exclusively, yeah. It's also just useful for personal growth, you know?
Yeah.
Understanding yourself better.
Recognizing your own diverse talent.
And realizing that maybe something you struggled with in school doesn't mean you're not intelligent, just that your strengths might lie elsewhere.
It really promotes this idea that society needs all kinds of smarts, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. That's a core part of Gardner's message. Value diversity in human abilities. Don't just prize the logician and the linguist.
We need the artists, the caregivers, the naturalists, the performers.
I need them all. His work encourages a much more holistic, appreciative view of what humans can do.
Okay, so if we boil it down, the big takeaway is intelligence isn't one thing.
Not at all. It's a collection of different capacities.
And each of us has our own unique blend, our own profile of these intelligences.
Exactly right. Some stronger, some less developed, but we all have access to all of them to some degree.
And hopefully listening to this, you can start thinking about your own profile. Which ones resonate? Where do your strengths seem to lie?
Yeah, it can be a really useful lens for self-reflection. Understanding how you learn, how you solve problems, what you naturally gravitate towards.
It definitely challenges that old, narrow definition of smart.
Completely.
So here's something to chew on. What if we as a society really took this seriously? What if our schools, our workplaces, our culture truly valued and actively nurtured all these different kinds of intelligence?
Hmm.
How much more potential could we unlock? How much more equitable and maybe fulfilling could things become if we celebrated that whole spectrum of human capability?